So this is the upper limb. We're going to be talking about a lot of muscles here that are going to move the arm and some of them that are going to move the forearm. First one is this big muscle here that's lateral. This is your deltoid muscle. It's going to originate somewhere either on the clavicle or on the scapula, and it's going to insert on a specific structure that's called the deltoid tuberosity, which is located here on the humerus. And if we're talking about the whole muscle, it's going to be involved in the abduction, ABD, of shoulder. If we're talking about the anterior part, which is this part over here, then it's going to cause flexion and medial rotation of the humerus. If we're talking about just the posterior end of it, it's going to do extension and lateral rotation of the humerus. Now for us to see the muscles that are underneath, we're going to remove the deltoid muscle. This is, now that we remove the deltoid, this is going to be the spinous process of the scapula. So if you guys remember, above the spine, in this process, we had a structure that was called the infraspine or supraspinous fossa, and below the spinous process, we had another structure that was called the infraspinous fossa. So the muscles are going to have the same name or similar names. So the muscle on top of the spinous process is called the supraspinatus, this one right over here. So it's going to originate on the supraspinous fossa of the scapula, and it's going to insert into the greater tubercle of the humerus, and therefore it's going to cause abduction at the shoulder, so ABD. The infraspinatus is going to be located under the infraspinous fossa, or that's where it actually originates, and it's going to insert on the greater tubercle of the humerus, and it's going to cause lateral rotation at the shoulder. Then we have two muscles that are sort of rounded, the teres minor and the teres major. Teres means round, so that's why they look a little bit rounded. Now the teres minor, which is this one right over here, it's going to originate on the lateral border of the scapula, and it's going to insert on the greater tubercle of the humerus, and it's going to cause lateral rotation and adduction at the shoulder, so ADD. Now the teres major, which is this one over here, it's going to originate in the inferior angle of the scapula, and it's going to insert on part of the intertubercular groove of the humerus, so it's called the medial lip, so the medial part of the intertubercular groove of the humerus. And therefore, it's going to cause extension and medial rotation at the shoulder. Next one is the subscapularis, so like the name says, sub is going to be below the scapula. So it's going to be located or originated here in the subscapular fossa of the scapula, and it's going to insert on the lesser tubercle of the humerus, and therefore it's going to cause medial rotation at the shoulder. Then we have right over here next to it, we have what we call the Coracle Brachialis muscle, so this long, slender muscle right over here. Like the name says, Coracle Brachialis means that it's going to originate on the coracoid process, and it's going to insert on the shaft of the humerus, somewhere in the middle. And it's going to cause adduction and flexion at the shoulder, so ADD. So this is on the anterior view of the arm. Now we're going to go to the posterior view of the arm. Right over here we have what we call the brachialis. So brachialis is now going to be responsible for moving the forearm. So all the ones that we talked about previously were moving the humerus. These are going to move either the ulnar or move at the level of the elbow. So the brachialis is right over here. It's going to originate here on the anterior surface of the humerus, and it's going to insert somewhere in the ulnar, and it's going to cause flexion at the elbow. Then right next to it, we have the biceps brachii. Biceps meaning that it's going to have two heads. We have a long head over here, a short head over here. And I know it looks like the short head is going to be longer than the long head, but this just means that the tendon of the long head goes deeper underneath the muscle, so you can't really see it. So the one that looks shorter is actually the long head. The one that looks longer is the short head. And both of them are going to originate somewhere in the scapula, and they're going to insert in the radial tuberosity. They're going to cause flexion at the elbow and shoulder, and also going to be responsible in partial for supination. The triceps brachii is going to be located posteriorly. We have three of them. 1, 2, 3. You don't really need to know and be able to differentiate them, but you're going to have a long head, lateral head, and a medial head. All of them are going to originate on either on the humerus and the scapula, and they're going to insert on the olecranon of the ulna, so on the posterior part of the ulna. So if they're going to be located posteriorly, they're going to cause extension at the elbow, and more specifically, the long head is going to be responsible for adduction at the shoulder, so ADD.